Okay, Year 7, we're going to move into the next topic here, which is the area of parallelograms. Now, you might be somewhat confused because the textbook goes in a different order to what we do, but there's a reason as to why we're doing parallelograms first. So if you look at our work, and you'll see that we go rectangles, which is exercise 10F. We did that yesterday. And we skip 10G, and we do that on Wednesday. We're now going to parallelograms. And I want to show you the reason for this. So here's our formula for the area of a rectangle. Remember, we divide it up into rows and columns, and we count the number of squares. And the quick way of counting the squares is to multiply the two sides. And remember, there's all sorts of different formulas you can have. The textbook uses length times breadth. Some people use length times width, but you remember I decided that I reckon this is a better way to go, base times height. It just means that you only have to remember one formula. So the textbook then goes, and we did those questions last time, the textbook then goes into, after this, triangles. Now I don't like to go into triangles first. It's better if we go into the next shape, which is a parallelogram. So we're going to skip 10G, and we'll do 10G next lesson. We're going to go straight into a parallelogram. Now, the area of a parallelogram. So when we look at this shape, and we're trying to work out the area of it, there's a very simple thing we can do. Imagine if we cut that bit off and moved it down to here. And I went there, and the shape that I have, this new shape, is a rectangle. So the area of, and you need to make your own notes, parallelogram equals base times height. And why is that? Well, because every rectangle parallelogram can be made into a rectangle. We're just going to use the rectangle formula. But let's go back to this. And if I get rid of that and that, and I'm going to call this the height. And it has to be perpendicular height, perpendicular down here. And this is my base. All right, so I've essentially moved this little triangle, this bit, over to here and made my parallelogram into a rectangle. And I'm just going to use the rectangle formula. So I'm just going to use base times height. And you can see here, they've written it down here, base times height, where it's the perpendicular height. You must always look for the little square that indicates that it's perpendicular height. So down here. All right. Once you know that, it's easy. And sometimes, look here, the height can be outside the parallelogram. They don't have to draw it inside. It's still the height. Like that line there could have been in here, if I'd drawn it neater. If that line was down there and you had the little perpendicular symbol, and you get the height. Okay, so here we go. Now remember, we're doing We're doing questions 2, 3, 6A, 7A, 9 and 11. So we're doing 2, 3, 6A, I think it says 7A, 9 and 11. So let's have a look. These are so easy. Now I'm not going to do all of these. 2A, area of a parallelogram, base times height, where it's perpendicular. You don't need to write that. It's a terrible B. Let's get rid of that. Base times height. And the base of my parallelogram is 6. And the perpendicular height, look at 2A. I'm always looking for that little right angle, is 2. 6 times 2, 12 centimetre squares. It's that easy. I'm going to do B. Now, just because they've drawn the parallelogram a funny way, doesn't matter. You can turn your book. So I'm going to say, there's my base, and there's my height. So, again, I write the formula. Area equals base times height. The base is 10, and the height is 4. And 10 times 4, 40 centimetre squares. I'm going to do C. Again, area equals base times height. But this time, the base is here, that's easy, 5. But they've done the height outside of the parallelogram. It doesn't matter. They could have drawn it in there, but they didn't. It's still the same distance. So my base is 5 and my height is 7. 5 times 7 is 35 metre squares. All right, so you can do the next couple. I'm going to F, because F's a little bit tricky. Now, in F, and this is where you've got to be smart, they've given us 3 measures. All right? You only need 2. And the question is, can you choose the right 2? Now remember, the perpendicular height must touch the base. So they've given me this side, but if I was going to use that side, I'd need a perpendicular height from here. And I do not have that. But what I do have is that 1.8 there is the same as that 1.8 there. And yes, that touches that height. So I'm not going to use the 1.3. So the base is 1.8 and the height is 0.9. And this time I'm going to use my calculator. .62, and we're in metres squares. Righto. Question 3, exactly the same. Find the area of these parallelograms. Right? Question 3. 3A, what is the base? 10. And what is the height? 4. 10 times 4 is 40 metres squared. Now, I know in question 2 that they won't ask you. They're asking you to find the base and the height, but we found the area. So it's just good practice. B, C is the same. I'm going to jump all the way down to E. Remember, all you've got to do is find the base and the height. Well, if I look here, that 15 is the same as that 15, and that gives me that height. So they've drawn it on its side, but that doesn't worry me. So I get 15 times 2, which is 30 metres squared. Now, when I get to the last 3, you see if you can do them. I'm going to do G and I. You see if you can do H on your own. You see if you can do them on your own. So G, area equals base times height. Now they've given me 3 measures. Now remember, I've got to choose the right ones. And the height's got a link. So they've given me this one, but that doesn't have anything to do. If I needed the height for that, if that's the base, the height has to go there. And this is not perpendicular, this little thing in here. So I haven't got the height. What I do have is I have this base and I have this height. So I'm going to use that 1 and that 1.8. So the base is 1 times 1.8, which is just 1.8 centimetres squares. You have a go at H. I'm going to do I. Might even come back and do it. Well, I'll do H as well. It's going to be so easy. The question is, which ones am I going to choose? So area is base times height. Now remember, they need to be together. So I'm looking at that and I'm going, oh, I need this as my base and that as my height. So that 7's the same. So my base is 7 and my height is 2. So it gives me 14 centimetres squares. Now I. Well, the area is base height. Okay, which ones am I going to use? Which ones do you think? Well, my height's always indicated with and it's the one that tells me. So I need the one. So I need, if that's a height, I need that base. And that's the same as this. So I'm not going to use the 20. I'm just going to use the 11 and 16. So the base is 11. The height is 16. I'll go to my calculator for this one. And it's just 11 times 16. 176. And what units are we in? Millimetre squares. So that's how we find the area of a parallelogram. You need to do questions 2 and 3. I'm going to have a look at 6a and 7a and then 9 and 11. You go and have a go and see if you can get them by yourself. Okay, here in question 6, they don't give us the picture. Now you can draw a picture if you want. And put in your measurements. So they tell me, do they tell me, oh, they don't tell me the height. They tell me the base though, and the base is 5. And they tell me the area is 10. So I'm just going to go, oh, area equals base times height. So 10 equals 5 times h. I wonder what number I times by 5 to get 10. And if you're good, you go, oh, h is equal to 2 because 2 5s are 10. There is another tricky way to do it, but we haven't done equations yet, so we're not going to go there. Question 7. Question 7a. You have another go. 7a is similar. This time, they give me a parallelogram. They give me the height. In 7, they tell me the height is 4. They don't give me the base, but they tell me the area is 40. So 40, because the area equals base times height, is the base times 4. I wonder what number I times 4 by to get 40. And if you were going 10, you'd be right. And by the way, that was metres, and this one's centimetres. So the base is 10 centimetres. Righto. If you can do that, that's good. Question 9 I'm going to do, and then I'm going to leave you to have a go at question 11. So let's have a look at question 9. You can have a go at it on your own. Have a look at it. Now, it's a parallelogram. That red is a parallelogram inside a rectangle. Okay, so a proposed rectangular flag for a new country is yellow with a red stripe in the shape of a parallelogram. Find the area of the red stripe. Well, here, the base of this parallelogram is 30 and the height is here. So the area of the red stripe, so 9a, area equals base height, which equals 30, because that's the base, times 60. And I'll use my calculator for that. 1,800. And we're in centimetres. And then it tells me, find the yellow area. Well, the yellow area is going to be a subtraction. So to find the yellow area, I'm just going to find the area of the whole rectangle and then minus the parallelogram. So think about that again. What am I going to do? To find the yellow area, I'm going to find the area of the rectangle and then minus the area of the parallelogram, which I already know. So 9b, the yellow area equals the area of the rectangle minus the area of the parallelogram. Well, the rectangle, let's have a look at it. Its base times height, and its base is all this distance. So that's 30 plus 70. And 30 plus 70 equals 100. So the base is 100. And the height is 60. And I've already calculated the area of the parallelogram. I'm going to minus that 1800. Well, 100 times 60, let's go to my calculator. 100 times 60, 6,000 minus 1800. So I'll use my calculator again and I'll go 6,000 minus 1800, 4,200 centimetre squares. And I'm just going to check that on my, because I've got the answers on the other computer, and that's question 9, and we're correct. So you can have a go at question 11 on your own. It's similar, but see how you go.